Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Odd Ones. Today we are back with episode 9, and we're still doing the love languages thing. Can you not believe it's episode 9, Lara? Yep, we're really moving up there. We're almost in double digits, finally. I don't know when, I guess whenever we get to episode 100, we'll start another season or something. I don't know.
Have to celebrate at 10. Everything
Okay.
is so exciting every
Yeah,
time.
absolutely.
I had to too.
So we are still talking on the 5 love languages. We're getting towards the end of the book, I think. But before we do, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff.
Bell,
Check
that
us
does
out.
exist.
Check us out on Facebook and Instagram because I don't know where you're posting this, but we are creating a book list of all the books that we're going to be reading,
All the books.
including the 5 love languages.
Mhm.
And the next book that we're going to be going over is
Game.
How to Raise a Healthy Gamer.
Boom.
And then we have a couple other books going over our dynamics. So we might put those on Patreon first and then move them over here. But we're kind of debating on those right now. We still have some time before we get into
Join
those.
the community. You'll know. You'll know.
Yep. So, Lara, where are we at?
So last time we left off was surprisingly words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And I am super excited to move past that. Though I really enjoyed that whole words of affirmation. So
Yeah.
we are going into quality time.
Maybe you can correct me, but I feel like words of affirmation for both of us is getting a little bit better.
I agree.
Okay.
I'm sorry it took a long pause for that though. Quality time. So I think you could best speak to quality time and then we will go into our question.
Yeah. Quality time is definitely my jam. It's just spending time with the person that you love, even if that's not your favorite thing as far as like sitting down and doing said thing. I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I mean, I don't really, the quality time is kind of self-explanatory. There's not much to add as far as what, outside of notes or anything like that. So what's the first bullet point there, Laura?
Can I real quick?
Mhm.
Quality time. So I always thought that quality time meant you, me, or whoever together, right? With a very intentional, no distractions, no, maybe you left home, maybe you sat in the room together and both of you were like intently focused on things,
Mhm.
whatever that was. And it wasn't till we had, I guess we were going at some recording or had a conversation where I did not realize that quality time for you is just having me in your presence or
Mhm.
having, yeah, that's what I meant. So the way that the studio is set up is we're in your studio, and
Yep.
across the way is my art studio, which is where I had spent a lot of time.
Yep.
And I always thought that like I had to be sitting down right there next to you, glued to the hip,
Mhm.
which is already hard for me to sit down in general. And you just wanted me in your presence.
Yep.
So
Just where we can talk and hang out and stuff like that. We don't have to be doing the exact same thing, but as long as we're
it's the
around
quality part of the
in the
time.
same vicinity for me,
Right.
that might not be the same for everybody, but
Right.
for me.
Well, I think everybody has a different idea of quality. Like some people like the Walmart Oreos. Some people want the regular Oreos, and some people have just not tried the gluten-free ones. So,
Yeah, and everybody else that does not eat the gluten-free ones are wrong. So
or what about the people who don't like Oreos? If you were
shame on
one
them.
of those, I was going to say unsubscribe, but I don't mean that.
Yeah.
Just kidding. All right. So
Unsubscribe, then subscribe again.
yes, please. Twice. Make another account. So we'll forgive you then. Do things your spouse likes to do, but you might not.
Yep. So that one can be tricky depending on the situation because there's some things that that should just be that person's hobby. It's okay for you to have you know an interest in it. An example is hunting. If somebody
We don't
doesn't
hunt, by the way.
if somebody doesn't like to hunt at all and you're taking them out into the woods and you're making them kill something and they don't really feel comfortable doing any of that stuff, they're never really going to like that. So for me personally, I would think that that's your hobby. You um, gardening, that's your hobby. I don't personally care to be out there in the hot bugs of Florida, but that's your thing. I will help you where I can. but I will never enjoy it to the same degree that you want me to. That being said, there's other things that can still be a hobby or something, that one person likes more than the other. For instance, I'm really into Beyblades. We've mentioned this before. I'm gonna go start a league. I'm gonna go find a group of people and start a league.
I'm learning this right now.
Just kidding. But I'm really into Beyblades. I'm hyper fixated on it right now, and I'm learning everything about it. Where Lara uh, is not in that same boat. She enjoys Beyblading with me whenever I ask her to, but is that necessarily something that you would go and do by yourself?
Not the same way you would,
Yeah.
but I really do like taking them apart and being like, "Oh, but one is gonna beat you
Mhm.
or not beat you.
Just so you
One
know
is
that
not gonna beat you."
that awkward pause was because I don't know why I didn't just finish my sentence. I was gonna say, would you go and do that by yourself? Probably not. But I wanted you to answer yourself. So that's why
You
that
baited me.
yep. I guess so.
I failed clearly.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things like that where, obviously you got together with your spouse or your significant other because you cared about each other and you had similar hobbies and similar interests. But then there's certain things where, you know, you need to just sit down and be active in a way that is relevant to your person that you might not necessarily care about to the same degree.
You know what really interests me, and when we talk about, like, love languages, and it really just started it struck me just then, as far as assuming, not saying that you did, but in general, that you met over something or you crossed paths somewhere
Hmm.
that clearly the 2 of you were in the same place, so it must be something that you had in common.
Yeah.
But, like, arranged marriages are crazy.
Hmm.
Like, that I don't know. I love the idea of like, oh, we were friends and we enjoyed these things together, and that's amazing. But like, what a testament of love to
Yeah.
like, I don't know you, you don't know me. Boom, we're married, and we were going to have to just learn to love each other.
Yeah.
And
If
that
you're in an arranged marriage, leave a comment down below. What are your thoughts about it, and how do you feel about non-arranged marriages and things like that? So,
I would take the assumption, and again, I can only assume because I have no idea and don't know anybody, but that they might look at the traditional, like, I don't wanna say Americanized, but non-arranged marriage as in, you don't know, because we got some high divorce rates around here. You don't know what it's like to truly choose love.
yeah.
And again, I'm going back
Well,
to Bridgerton.
America, we just take marriage for granted, and in that we take people for granted. And not saying that in arranged marriages they don't take their person for granted. It's just they might be in a situation like we know somebody that it wasn't an arranged marriage, but they were married and they weren't happy. But because of their culture, they're not from America originally, but because of their culture, it's super frowned upon to get a divorce. So his mom and dad were like, "Hey, if you divorce your wife, you're cut off.
Exile.
You're not yeah, you're ostracized."
Right.
So, yeah, that's just the American way is to get married and have fun for a while and then get a divorce and hate each other. So,
Mm,
yeah,
that's too much work, too much money, too much work.
yep.
Um,
If that's a person that you want to be, like, I feel like in certain degrees, you know, marriage is almost like it's a title that somebody wants. Like, oh, being a girlfriend at 30 is just like frowned upon.
I know every girl, well, maybe not anymore, but I was like, "Oh, but my maiden name was Farmer."
Yeah.
So I felt
I mean, you
like
could have changed that though.
I didn't have any realm of that. Just get married, get out of
Yeah.
there. But I think a lot of girls dream about, it's very romanticized.
Hmm.
Getting you turn 18, you go to college, you find the love of your life there. Probably not. But maybe you do. Who knows? And then you get married, you have the kids, you know get settled in your career, and then retire and whatever. So
Hmm.
I think that
The
um,
American dream.
mhm,
Yep.
it's not.
No. So yeah, I mean, going back to the point, that one's pretty simple. Well, simple to say, harder to practice if you're not interested. If you're if your husband comes to you and is like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell you every single thing about Pokemon," well, you're just gonna sit there and say, "Mm-hmm." So there has to be some kind of what? What's that phase about? I'm not saying you.
No, but I know what you were trying to say, but I do think that part of the quality time was at first I got butthurt. I was like, I didn't do that. But part of the quality time is realizing like you're not going to have the same interest,
Hmm.
but I really get a lot of enjoyment. It hasn't always been that way. I'm going to go ahead and put myself out there, but watching you be passionate about something.
Mm,
And so the quality part of the quality time for me is seeing you enjoy it.
yep.
Like, you're right, I wouldn't have went and picked up a Beyblade. Yeah, I remember seeing them, but it
Mhm.
was not Pogs, yeah, you bought some Pogs home, let's go.
Don't say that. I've been eyeballing Pogs for years, and I'm kind of debating on buying.
Please interact on Beyblades with him because I cannot do Pogs too. That would be great.
I think they're pretty cheap.
We did get marbles though. I really like
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Marbles are a fun game too. But in that, I should have mentioned this as well. In this, just because you are doing something that the other person wants to do doesn't mean you can't incorporate your interest in there. So going back to the hunting thing, maybe your spouse likes to go hunting and you don't mind the killing aspect, you just don't want to do it. So you take your camera out there and you take some wildlife photography while while your husband is hunting and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Or, with the Beyblade situation, maybe you're in the art studio and I'm in there with you and I'm blading it up by myself and you're friggin' the anime sometimes, but you're doing your art thing. The anime kills me because like the newer episodes are like, yeah, we got to go get our bay. I'm like, bro, it's so funny to me. But anyway, yeah, just incorporate yours into there. Like another one is like if your husband likes playing video games a lot and you love crocheting or vice versa, because that was me. I used to like crocheting as well. But if one person likes to do something like that, let that person play video games and you
So not
crochet.
necessarily incorporating, but bringing your
Mixing the 2 worlds. I
yeah,
just spit a
like
little bit.
okay, that's extra. Bleep it out and then they can pay for it. Um, anyway, sorry. Um, one of the things when you said incorporating, the first thing I thought about is, I am familiar with Pokemon. Obviously, it immediately meant something to me when I
Mhm.
realized how important it was to you. And so I wanted to like draw you stuff, or I would the Beyblades though.
Hey, you have an idea for the next, birthday card. Lara, I'll have to put some pictures somewhere. Every year, because I have so many different interests, every year for my birthday or Valentine's or whatever, usually my birthday, she'll make a card, like, I'll
Father's Day, birthday,
yeah,
anniversary, if we ever remember that.
yeah,
Never Valentine's Day.
she'll hand draw a card. The last one was for my birthday, and it was Dragon Ball Z, and it was awesome.
That was really good. I was
Yeah,
really proud of that.
she has, like, Shinron and Master Roshi and
They're
everything.
custom cards based on whatever the they're really, if I've ever given you a custom card, you are really special because
Yeah,
it takes a lot of effort
yep, and
and
there's
you got to
always
have
puns.
different interest and it's always puns, you
Yeah.
know?
Her poor dad has got the same fishing things every
No, no, no. He has not. Dad, right? No, I have really haven't. But when I think about incorporating then two things,
Mhm.
like, you'll be doing something, though, with the Beyblade gasp where I readjusted myself. Somehow I am on, I'm not going to say somehow because this happens often. I really like making you happy
Mhm.
to a fault. And so if you're on a kick, then, and I see that makes you happy, and I don't, I'll come back to that thought. But I want to make you happy. So I have been down the Beyblade rabbit hole like super deep.
Mhm.
Like I've been on eBay, I've been on Facebook Marketplace, things I haven't even showed you, trying to find, I know it's the X. You don't like the ones that burst.
Yeah.
Not for you. So you were really
It's
on the
Burst
X
too.
one.
I don't like the Beyblade Burst though. That's a whole different thing. these bursts too. That's why they kind of anyway. We'll talk about that off camera. I'm
Okay.
sure they don't want to hear about the whole history and all of the different generations of Beyblades.
Right.
If you do, let me know and I'll make some videos about
Exactly.
Beyblades.
Yeah, let them get it out.
Yeah.
But I respect that. I respect that that is your interest, and therefore, because it's your interest, I'm like a feeder.
Mhm.
But it doesn't matter if it's food or not. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to you. You're into ice cream. I'll give you ice cream. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds delicious right now.
Yeah, it does.
Um,
The funny thing is, with Beyblade specifically, it's like as soon as I got into that, all the kids also like we went to the toy aisle in Target and I was looking at Beyblades, and then because I was so passionate about that and we were there and they didn't really have anything, I was like, all right, what else can I be? What else can I look at? And everybody's like, oh, look at the Hot Wheels. I'm like, oh yeah, the Hot Wheels. So it's like my passion fed their passion, for
you should be in
whatever.
sales. That was the aha moment. Like Juliet sold herself on a
Bro,
man.
okay, side tangent here.
Well, it's
and
quality time. We were spending
yeah,
quality time together.
that's it. So I like showing the kids old commercials, and Juliet was sitting there watching one, and she's like, "What is this?" Like,
Was it the Easy Bake Oven or something?
no, it's like Floam or something like that. And it's like this, I don't know, foam.
He said, "The inside this dome is flown, the
Uh,
craziest stuff you've ever known."
how you remember that as
I
Brownie?
don't know either.
But she's like, "Yeah, that stuff kind of stinks." And then later on, it was like, it wasn't Floam because that stuff's kind of gooey
Was
and it
it
goes
Flirt?
everywhere. So I can't remember. There's so many different
Gack.
gooey. I had some of that. I'll tell you a story about that in a second. So, anyway, we're sitting there looking at that, and she's like, "Yeah, that stuff's real sticky. I don't really like using that. It's whatever. I had some whenever it came in a Wendy's Happy Meal or something, whatever they called their kids meals, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't really like that." And then they were like, "Oh, you can design things and stick them on your wall." And she's like, "Well, don't mind if I do."
Right?
I'm like,
I'll
"Julia,
take two.
Juliet." And then there was something else that she actually sold herself on.
Mhm.
Like I can't remember what it was, but it was something like really stupid. And she's like, "Wait a minute, that sounds like a good idea. I want that."
I do think it because my personality is again that feeder personality, and it's not necessarily healthy. Ladies, if you're willing to sacrifice everything to just see your man happy, like, oh, I know that we need toilet paper, but there's a Beyblade.
Yeah.
Let me get that. Not that that's ever happened with us, but I've definitely made
Not yet.
decisions emotionally, thinking about like I just like seeing you happy,
Mhm.
and it puts the quality in the quality at time. Like there, I don't know. For example, I just like to talk about like weird stuff, and you're not into gardening, and you're not really into art, and so a lot of my passions or my
I
interests,
like art. I'm just not good at it.
right? But it wouldn't be like something you would come sit down in there with me and like participate.
I would.
Hmm, I didn't know that.
I would. I'm just not good at it.
Right. Um, he just said in my whole brain, there was a really nasty Donald Duck sound in there. Um, well, where I was going with that was, be sure that you have healthy habits. But I just had the realization, like, I don't know, because I get so caught up in not only making you happy, but making other people happy that I mean, the girls are pretty good about sometimes coming in there and doing art, but I don't know that I take enough time to do things that interest me for quality time. Music, going out of town, listening to music, letting me just dance my happy little behind off with some stranger who, whatever. You were there. You were with me. You're with us.
I'm not into the whole having a chair in a corner thing. Bro, you do. We just can't say it on YouTube. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. I'm not
Anyway.
explaining it here.
Go to Patreon. No, but like when we went out, there's this band called Blister. They're I think they're from Jacksonville anyway, they're phenomenal. They're
Mhm.
phenomenal. And so we like to go see them.
I mean, they are as good as Metallica.
Mhm,
Whenever
can to
they
can.
sing Metallica songs,
Yeah.
the lead singer sounds just like James Hetfield, and he just plays on his little Fender.
And they're just great. And they're really nice people. So anyway, I want to, if you want to spend quality time with me, concert 10 to 10, you get the unbridled me.
Or just house karaoke.
I do like house karaoke. Um, I like house karaoke when it is something that everybody gets a turn. Like I don't wanna sing the same karaoke, not the point. But I was thinking about, with your interest, spending quality time with you. I know that's your love language. Um, oh, we got unplugged.
You're
Um,
good. You keep talking, I'm gonna plug that back in.
okay. Put your feet up there so we can get a little foot shot. Um, like that's not like Pokemon, Beyblades, whatever you come up with, I'm just passionate about it because you are, because I like seeing you happy. But I can't really think of too many things that I have taken the time to take interest in that I've been able to bring you down that rabbit hole. Like you're not coming in there and be like, "Oh, let's duel paintbrushes." I don't know. Duel is a poor term. Oh, I was thinking about the card games that we play and whatever. Listen, if you are like me and you are
Okay, go back.
okay.
Come on.
If you are like me and you are the person who just likes seeing the other person happy, like I understand quality time is your thing, that's what I'm going to do. But I really enjoy the quality time as well. I wonder how many people are just doing whatever their other person wants and not finding a way to bring them into their world.
Yeah.
Because I would do a lot more art and a lot more drawing if I felt like that would be a place where we could still spend quality time.
Mhm.
We do blend the worlds where you'll be doing watching something whatever and I'll draw, but it definitely feels like disconnected,
Yeah.
you know?
Before we continue, I wanna tell you my GAC story. So, Nickelodeon made this stuff back in the day called I'm, like, super low, what the heck? Called GAC, and it's like this I guess people
Slime.
yeah, people call it slime. It's like a harder slime, a little bit more firm, and, I was playing with that crap, my nanny bought it for me, and me and my brother, and I love that stuff, and mine was blue, beautiful blue, and,
That was
friggin'
second edition. The first edition was green.
yeah, and I was sitting there throwing it and everything and playing with it, and, I was, like, I was laying on the floor tossing it up. My papa was like, "Now you don't get that on the ceiling, alright?" I was like, "Alright, papa," and I've immediately hit the ceiling with it, and it was that popcorn ceiling, so it stuck to it. You can go to my nanny's house today and still see the blue stain.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Like the
30 years ago.
tomatoes one. Oh my gosh. They didn't have magic erasers back then. Um,
They can't erase it, it's a popcorn ceiling.
I was being funny.
Oh.
I was not being funny, clearly. Another thing I think before we get off that, because you don't have any more notes,
That was
is
it?
yep.
Wow. I didn't think we're that close.
I mean, there was only we got 2 more, 3 more actually, but only 1 note under that. I think people often don't know how to spend quality time. So I will share from my perspective what that looks like in giving it, especially for someone who has a hard time doing that.
Mhm.
And maybe you can share what it feels like to receive that and like different ways that that can be done. So Astor wants to spend some quality time right now. As far as giving quality time, if you have any form of ADHD, sitting down is probably not your forte. I get it. Absolutely get it. It is a discipline. I remember like all you wanted me to do is sit down and eat dinner.
Mhm.
But my brain said, I'm not sitting down and having dinner until the dishes are clean. Well, if I cooked, I clean along the way. Not that you don't, right?
Mhm.
But my brain says, I've got to get this immediately into some kind of container so I can't sit down and eat and enjoy it if I think I have to get up.
Mhm.
And in a timely manner, especially having dogs and cats, them getting into the food. So there were probably years, right, that you just wanted me to sit down and
Yep.
eventually you gave up. I do appreciate it. I appreciated when you were like, "I'm waiting on you." And then I like my guilt center kicked in and your food's getting cold
I still do that.
and no, I know that, but I'm saying that was really
Yeah.
strategic and not that you were trying to manipulate me, but that helped me realize like, "Oh, I've been in here like cold 15 minutes food
Yeah.
worth and you're just waiting on me." You have to put intentions behind it. Like does it give me anxiety leaving the kitchen a mess and thinking about I can't tell you how many times I've heard some kind of crash and thinking, "Oh my god, the dogs got into it." And usually 50% of the 50% that is what is happening. Um, and maybe you have people around you all the time. Like, I don't get alone time. You don't get alone time.
Mhm.
So spending quality time in general is hard. But, just if you have to get up 30 minutes earlier, if you have to stay 30 minutes later, like come up with something where you know that this is a dedicated time to do things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, and I hope we get back into this, we had done it pretty consistently for a while, was a check in. I say a while, like we got 5 weeks, 4 weeks, somewhere in there
Mhm.
under us. But um, even if it's only 15 minutes where you say, hey, I want to, without any distractions, sit down and connect with you. And so we would do 3 questions. Number one, what's something positive that happened this week? We're just looking at a week at a time. What's your win for the week?
Mhm.
What is your area of opportunity for the week? Like, what can you be working on? And what is your goal?
Mhm.
They could be two different things, obviously. And then what is ours as a couple? So it'd be you, me, and then us. And that was really quality time for me.
Mhm.
I felt like you were actually paying attention. We weren't having to fight with, you know, the dogs or kids or whatever. We just
Yeah.
tried to set 15 minutes aside. And then we started doing that with the kids. So it doesn't have to be quantity quality time.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't have to be hours on end. But even, and you tell me if I'm wrong, just knowing that you can have my undivided attention, even if for a little bit.
Well, for me, yeah, as you're talking, my mind is saying, I think my tank is pretty small. Because it doesn't really take much for me to get filled up. Like, I don't have to. You have a
I'm
dirty
so
mind,
sorry.
okay? All right. Anyway, um, my my love tank, there we go, is relatively small because having a date night every once in a while, um, is great, and then, you know, just, like, sleeping next to you is good, like, for me personally, and then after that, just a like, though that's, like, the first little quarter of the tank. The rest of it is just being around you and the rest of the family. Like, I don't have to have, like, us going in the bedroom, locking ourselves away kind of quality time, even if that's playing video games, watching movies, or anything like that. Is it nice? Does it feel good? Yes. Is that like going into the reserves? Absolutely. That's filling up my reserve tanks. But as far as just my tank, I don't, as long as there's not drama in the house, I don't really have to have, that dedicated sit down kind of time to feel the quality time that I need. Just, you cooking and I'm in there with you. And that's good enough for me. Or like just, watching a movie with the family and you're sitting next to me. That's good enough for me. I really don't need a whole lot. I'm a simple man. All right. I like my pace.
Do you think that that could be because we do spend a lot of time together? Like, preface,
Sorry.
maybe you don't keel over there. Um, when we met, we were working together as friends, and we spent, I mean, you usually spend more time at work than you do at home,
Hmm.
sadly. Um, and then we went into being in a relationship, and before we even stopped working together, we were already living together.
Yeah.
And then every time that there was a moment to, I don't think at any point in our relationship did I just go out and hang out with friends consistently. Like,
Yeah.
you and I are pretty well content just being with each other. Not that I don't have great friends, not
Yeah.
that I don't enjoy that, but I like, you're pretty cool. um and we usually do things as a unit.
Hmm.
I will opt out of Walmart real quick, but I've been trying to do that. That's another thing that you can do to spend quality time. If you have a person who likes going to the store
Hmm.
and you hate it, just suck it up.
I think where mine stems from, like my quality time being my thing, is probably from my younger years, and then how that evolved into my teenage life. Because whenever I was young, um, my mom, she worked all the time, but generally speaking, it was just me, her, and my brother. and we were always hanging out. We were always watching TV or going to the beach or whatever. We were always spending time together as a group. And then, as we get older and, for the most part, we're still spending quality time together until my mom met my stepdad. And then the family kind of just disjointed, not anything to do with her or him. It was just, my brother was 18 and his daughter was living with his ex-wife. And so we'd see her every once in a while. And then him and my mom were building their relationship. So a lot of that time, I was either at my grandparents' house, and my grandma worked nights, and my papa, went to bed early, so I was home alone a lot. And then same thing at my mom's house, I was home alone a lot. So it's like anytime that I had to spend with my family, it felt like good quality time to me. And then I spent a lot of time with my cousins and stuff. But what I'm getting at is because of those two dynamics is why I think it doesn't take a lot for my tank to be filled, and why it doesn't really matter if there's other people around for it to feel that way. Because, my brother, bless his heart, he was very much the attention person. Like he was always thriving for my mom's attention,
Mhm.
where I was just kind of like, all right, I'm here. I wanted her attention too, but he was definitely the one that he was the star of the show kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
but
hard to compete with too.
it didn't feel like competing. Not at the time, at least. I think because it was just two of us, it wasn't that bad. But um, yeah, I think that's why. Again, it doesn't take a lot for me to feel like, oh, you're paying attention. You're interested in what I'm interested in. I think I may have told this story before, but it's like my grandma. Whenever I was younger, I was, talking about Pokemon, and I showed her a Executor card, and she's like, "Oh, do you know?" Or I said, "Do you know about this one?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, this one was here and there, but whatever," and said things that I told her about it, and that's all it took for me to be like, "Oh, you actually care about me. Like this is good quality time," you
Right.
know. So
I find I wish we could just like have a little pin board over here to put a thought in because
that's a good pinboard.
um talking about quality time anymore is just really sending me down the rabbit hole because I still think compared to a lot of people, like let's say you guys you're in a relationship and he works nights, like
Mm,
shift work, right? And then you literally don't have the luxury of sleeping in the bed together because he's gone most of the time, or she. Or let's say they are on military,
mhm,
leave or not leave, but they are in the military. That quality time becomes even more amplified, I'm
mhm,
sure. And maybe they grew up like you, but their love tank is, maybe they have a much bigger love tank even in the same situation because they don't get to have that bonding.
mhm.
Um, I, it is, I would say that it would be, I would assume, right, if it was not the way it was with us, that your love tank would not be as easily filled. It may, I don't know if it seems small because you get it filled often, or like that's just who you are.
Mm,
I don't know.
no, I think that it's just who I am. It's like whenever I worked at, uh, you know, the second last restaurant job that I was at, I was working 12 hours a day and you were working nights and all this different stuff. So we didn't really get to spend too much time together
Mm.
because our schedules were so different. And then the job after that, same thing. I was working early and you were working late. So it's
Right in
like,
the middle of date night, boom,
yeah.
gotta go.
Well, I'm talking about the last restaurant job.
Oh,
And then, yeah, working at the funeral home, I mean, it was uh, always working some way or another. And so we didn't get as much time, but I still felt extremely connected to you. You may have not felt the same way.
oh, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to put the quality in quality time. Like
Yeah.
I hungered for that, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Like I am a little bit different than you are in the sense that when I'm like, I have told you, I don't know how many times, I don't even know why I didn't think about this, but how many times I've said, like, I just want to connect.
Hmm.
And while it does, at first I wanted to feel bad. And I'm not really sure how I feel about the whole concept, but great. I love spending every minute with you. Like when
Mhm.
I get off, I'm like, I'm going home and hanging out with my bestie,
Yeah.
and I happen to be married to him and I happen to think he's freaking sexy. I reeled it back real quick. But that's a plus, and we get to do all these things together and live life together. There are still times that we are in the same house 7 days a week, and, we both are off at 5, and I had still felt extremely disconnected from you.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
today, I came home and freaking went to sleep, and um, I
I
just
did.
died in here.
Oh, you did, but what's interesting about that is I felt more connected to you today than I have any other time that you were asleep,
Mm,
because I was doing stuff for the family, but while you were sleeping, I was trying to find ways that I could serve you, make sure your water bottle is filled, make sure your clothes are set out, whatever it is that,
mhm.
I would do. And so because we have, especially with the podcast, we have sat down and had intentional conversations.
Yeah.
There are no distractions. Like my tank is definitely full when it
Yeah.
comes to quality time. Um, and if anything, I've found myself like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna have a moment where nobody's around," like, well, that's kinda cool. Not that I wouldn't rather you be there,
Mhm.
but I can accept that, where before it was just like, "I just wanna spend time with
Yeah.
you." So,
So that kind of brings me to um the modern era. Like I feel like you and I we we were kind of like probably the last generation that was able to really enjoy and especially how we were brought up. Neither of us really had a lot of technology as far as AOL and, Yahoo and freaking texting people and everything.
messengers.
Yeah, so we were like the only, or we're the last generation that really was able to experience like learning each other without technology really being involved. Like, yeah, we texted each other, but not really because we,
S, 1, 2, 3, 4.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, what I mean is like, you and I work together, so it's like easy for us to communicate and, grow that connection that way. But this modern generation, it kind of freaks me out a little bit because it's almost like they can't, I feel like they spend so much time together digitally that they don't have time to miss each other. And missing each other as is very important in a relationship. Uh, I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, you don't miss people. I think I do. It just doesn't register in my mind. It's like in my heart it does, but in my mind it doesn't. But yeah, I really feel like people don't have time to miss each other. They miss each other in the physical aspect, but in the mental, like they're like what I'm thinking about is our teen daughter and her boyfriend, where they are on the phone together for 8 to 10 hours, during a school day. They go to sleep on the phone together, all this other stuff.
not anymore.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because we had to turn that friggin' internet off, bro. But anyway, they're doing all this different stuff, so they don't have that opportunity to long for each other and, feel really what it feels like to be in the throes of early relationship because they're talking to each other so much, because they're on FaceTime so much, because they're interacting so much, they are pretty much like their relationship is like expedited almost, in a way, because it's like they're already having disputes and things like that, and they're 2 months in, and it's like healthy conversation, but at the same time it's like, dang, whenever I was 2 months in, I was like on the verge of maybe saying I love you. These people are saying I love you in the first couple weeks because I think they know each other because they're on the phone with each other all the time. You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying, yes. I definitely I could be in the throes of something real quick because
Mhm.
of the things that I went through made me want that love. So
Sure.
give me 10 days and I'm saying it. I didn't understand what that meant.
Yeah.
True, like, make sure I'm saying things that I mean. I would say that I did not really truly understand what love meant like to the depths. And obviously, like you grow and you change and you get more perspective. Also, I need a Christmas blanket. Um, and your definition or your perspective on things
Mhm,
changes. I did not really know what true love was until you and I were together.
mhm,
Never experienced things, a number of types of things until I got with you.
mhm.
Um, but I definitely get that when you have some kind of deficit somewhere, excuse me, dang it, soda water, that you could be saying I love you really quick. And yes, I do agree that them being on the phone takes away from that missing one another. Or like, I used to write notes and fold them real nice. I can't wait to give it to them, but I can't wait for them to write me back. Um, but I also see in the very same situation where they may be on the phone together, but there isn't connection. And so, and it is weird, and they are, all of the teens, all of our children, and it's even scarier how much younger it's happening,
Mhm.
are watching their parents be on TikTok and filming every part of their life, and
Yeah.
vlogging is a huge thing, and I think you and I are both old school parents.
Mhm.
We would like to go back to, like, the how I wouldn't want a house phone, that's for sure. I do appreciate cord free.
Yeah.
But I think that once we realized we could connect at that level, and I think it has helped a number of people who were not able to connect before, but those who could connect are now so digitally attached.
Mhm.
And all of the social media apps and all these apps that are where the teens or where the kids are going to get their source of entertainment, much like we had Nickelodeon, they're brain drugs,
Yeah.
like the instant
Definitely.
gratification, that's a dopamine hit. So, in some sense, the only way to protect, I feel like, our kids from that would be to take that away.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, like, would they even know? Would their brains even work that way at this point? Like to
Yeah.
know, and that sounds really sad, actually. Um,
I think it would have to be a slow thing, and this kind of goes into the video game book.
mm,
Um, just slowly, a little bit at a time, removing that aspect. And I think if we did that, then it would really benefit them, especially in the dating realm. Because and why I'm saying that specifically because it's the same for TikTok and everything. But again, much like our oldest did the same thing that our middle child's doing, where they were on the phone with their boyfriend constantly. Absolutely, like literally sleeping on the phone. I'll look at her thing and it would be, all the time on the phone.
thank God we learned lessons and nipped that in the bud.
Yeah. Um, but what I'm getting at is because they're in the proximity of each other all the time, yeah, they might not be getting that quality time, but what scares me for them later on is now whenever they're living together, okay, they're spending as much time as possible together. They're talking to each other as much as possible while they're at work or whatever. But now they're kind of getting exhausted from each other. Like they're getting exhausted being around each other. They're kind of like, okay, well, I want to have my own friend groups. I want to do my own things. But then they go and do that, like have that independency or just like go to the store, not even, you know, leaving and being away from their spouse and going to a bar or whatever, but they just go to a Walmart by themselves and like, okay, I'm not going to answer my phone. I'm not going to look at text or anything. And now they're feeling anxious. They might be feeling, oh, well, what are they doing? Or just general anxiety because they haven't had the opportunity to be by themselves in such a long time, whether it's on the phone, whether it's texting, whether it's FaceTime, whether it's them being there physically. They haven't been alone in a long time to just process who they are. And
Mhm.
that's kind of the scary thing about this digital quality time that all these kids are doing nowadays. Um, Man, technology really is one of those things where it's like, a necessary
We're
evil.
surrounded by it.
Yeah, I mean, but we're not utilizing it in that way. Yes, you and I do talk a lot, but a lot of the time that we're talking is business related in one way or another. It's not necessarily just like us talking about life stuff. That's probably 20% of the time where we're talking about life stuff, but generally speaking, we're talking business because our work is so, interconnected.
It's still pretty outstanding to think about, though, like in general. I'll come back to the first thing that you had said, and I had a had a moment with that. But the fact that I don't know what your like hourly screen time is,
Mhm.
but being connected to that technology or being involved in that, not, again, how amazing that you can go to work and be able to listen to a
Yeah.
podcast, right? But how much time you spend in front of a screen. And so if you're, let's say you have 8 to 10 hours, that is really like a third of your day,
Mhm.
and the other third is sleeping. So most of your like waking
Depending on who you are.
right, right.
So,
Half of your waking hours are spent on the phone,
yeah.
on technology. I mean, yes, the kids would obviously be substantially more than that. Um, but we live together. And if it took me being on the phone with you to be with you, I'd do it. And I know I'm an adult, but um, you know, just screen time in general. Like I really could. I don't even know where my phone's at now, like listening to a book occasionally, but I could definitely set that down because I miss that. I miss
Mhm.
just all of it. That's not what we're talking about. But another thing you said, not but another thing you said was about them spending all that time together, and then one of them goes to Walmart and they're like, "Oh, I wonder what they're doing," and they can't just enjoy being with themselves. Well, I feel like I'm pretty independent,
Mhm.
but I dig you like that,
Well, it whenever I said it, I didn't really mean it like, "Oh, what are they doing?" Whatever. It's more of a just general buzzing kind of anxiety. Like, I have not been alone
Walmart will do that for sure.
without not just Walmart, but just like, okay, I'm gonna go on a walk in
Right.
the woods, and you're still gonna have that,
Codependency.
I haven't been away from this person in 6 to 7 months in one way or another, and now I have 0 way to communicate with them. What do I do with my hands kind of situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
that's the stuff
I
that
just
I
miss you,
worry
like,
about.
when you go to work.
Sure, I mean, like I said, a healthy missing each other is fine, like, that is not the problem here. The
Yeah,
problem is over exposure to the person that you are dating or with at the time.
right.
And then what happens whenever they break up? Now you're really screwed. If you spent a year solid doing what they're doing, constantly on the phone together, then it's like, what kind of anxiety do you have then? I don't even want to imagine that.
Well, that goes back, I think, to, an immaturity thing, and we got way off base, but the quality time thing, um you know, if you're in a good relationship, you will both be spending time doing what each other wants is
Mhm,
and feeding that. And, maybe you're not into art, but like the garden thing really hit me when you were talking about the gardening. Like I know that as much as I would love for you to be out there with me,
mhm.
that if I want to garden, we're not having quality time because you'll go give me things like you've definitely brought me the supplies and
Yeah,
you have gone out there and done things.
yeah,
But if that's my main interest, like I can't do that. But you show me, hey, I support that.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, that goes into a whole different subject of how important
what's going to
to
be the next thing?
what?
Well, the next subject can actually roll into it.
Oh, but how important just having alone time is too. I'm not saying have all day alone. There's people out there, people that we know that just are chronically alone, even though they have a spouse.
Right.
A lot of men, older men, are guilty of, I'm just going to go do man things for a while.
Go play in the shed.
Yeah. So, um, in some dynamics that works. The person that I'm thinking about, the spouse said it works.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine to them. But you know, that's not me. I like having a little bit of alone time, like going out on the front porch or something while you're doing counseling or front porch, back porch, while you're doing counseling, just being alone, doing something. But I don't want to be alone for 8 hours. So
I surely don't. I
uh,
like you too much. Yeah, there's healthy and unhealthy, and I don't know what the real balance is, but if it's I think if you aren't I I don't know. It's my a popular or unpopular opinion. I don't really care what anybody else thinks. This is I stand by what I say.
Mhm.
I like to be with you. I don't care about doing anything else sometimes. Like I don't care what you want to do. I just whatever makes you happy makes me happy.
Yeah.
And not in an unhealthy way. I just genuinely like you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll go to the store and I'll be by myself. Do I want you to come with me all the time? I mean, there have been a few times where I'm just like, I just need a breather.
Mm.
I want to listen to what I want to listen to, whatever. But
Sure.
outside of that, like I would spend every waking moment with you. And it's because we are doing a good job. The times that I didn't want to be with you or spend time with you was because I have resentment and
Mhm.
we weren't doing the right thing. We
Yeah.
weren't feeding each other's, and who cares about like the words? Like we just weren't feeling loved
Yeah.
and loving one another. So, um, you know, again, quality time. If your person's love language is quality time or yours is, I'd love to know what that looks like to you,
Mm.
especially after understanding like I can just be in the gravitational pull of the great Bjorn and that's good enough and I'll take that. But if you have issues or struggles with that, let me know. I can talk to you from at least having a hard time sitting down, but maybe you feel like kids are a distraction. Maybe
Mhm.
you could, Bjorn could give you some advice on how to feel quality time when there are other components to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that you said, just talking about everything that you were saying right before that last segment,
Mm,
um, makes me think it's like there's so many people out there that it's like, oh, I can't wait until he leaves. Oh, I can't wait until she leaves. And
right.
then, like, when they're away from their person, and that goes back to all the other things that we've talked about. It's like they're complaining about them, and it's like, why'd you get with them? Like, it's one thing if maybe you got married after a year of being together, much like you and I did, but
Mhm.
and then you didn't really get to know them. Um, but if you did things right and you spent like at least 2 to 5 years with somebody, well, at least 3 years because 2 years is how long it takes you to get over infatuation. So if you're with somebody for 3 to 5 years, you kind of know them, and at that point, it's kind of like, okay, do I really want to marry this person, or am I always happy whenever they leave? So I don't know.
I'm still infatuated.
Yep.
You can't help it.
So
Relationships are complicated, but at least during this, while you guys are hanging with us, you'll know what the five love languages are
mhm.
and be able to niche down, if you will, how you tell your significant other that you love them or ways that you can demonstrate that. What five? What did I say?
You are as subtle as I am. I was saying 5 minutes. We
Oh, okay.
our camera storage
I just
only has
talked about 5
5 minutes.
love languages. I was like, "Did I not say that?" Anyway, so next one we're gonna talk about after this is gift giving, and, this will be an interesting one because you had a lot of bullets, even though
Yeah.
I saw the last bullet. I'm excited to talk about that one. So we're coming on the home stretch, and I don't think anything is gonna take up as much time as the things that hit us the most.
Yep.
Gift giving does not seem to be one for both of us, though I do like what you were saying on the last bullet point here,
I don't
but
remember.
you won't know unless you tune into the next time.
Yep.
So again, if you haven't already done it, like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell, what all those things are, and join us again for the on the Facebook channel.
Well,
Facebook channel. Ha. Just kidding. The Facebook community.
yeah.
So we can chit
Well,
chat.
before we close it up,
Oh,
we always have the closing tradition of read the next bullet point for us, Lara.
that's word heavy. Gifts don't have to be expensive as long as they mean something to the person that you're giving it to and you put thought into it.
All right. So
Yes.
so your homework is to kind of think about that, reflect on that, reflect on what does it mean to give a gift? Does it have to be expensive? Does it need to be, you know,
You said
elaborate? And so think about gift ideas that you can give out for free or for low price or a gift of time.
if it's going to be homework, I want to grade them. Right.
Okay.
So can we give them like an objective? I'm going to be
Okay.
bossy for a minute. So you guys, I would love to have you tell us what the best gift you ever got was. And I don't care if it's expensive or not. Sometimes people just want to be lavished in bougie things and
Mhm.
do it to it. And sometimes it is when somebody paints you a Pokemon inspired canvas or carves a rock for you. So
Yep.
you never know.
I was gonna say my favorite still is that Dragon Ball card.
Yeah.
Yep. I think so.
Where's that at?
It's in my
That
drawer.
sounded like I was about to like bait you into that. We should frame it, like if it's important to you.
Okay.
Just thinking about that. I'm trying to frame my own artwork over
Yep.
here.
All right, guys. Like Laura said earlier, don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that other good crap. I really wish I didn't have to say all that, but it really does help. We are right now at my favorite number, 117 subscribers. So is Master Chief's number. I'm a nerd. Okay, don't look at me like
I'm
that.
not. That's also the office number.
I know. That's why I remember whenever we moved. They moved in there. I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's my favorite number. Anyway, so let's continue to grow. According to vidIQ, which is, if you have a YouTube channel, that is a very helpful tool. We will be at 120 by next month, is what it's saying.
Challenge.
Yeah.
I want you guys to show up here. So,
Yep.
like, I know that this matters.
So if you're watching, which I know you are, because at least 19 of you guys not subscribe, but come and check out everything.
Facts, things. We're trying to wind it up. Nobody cares at this point. Just come back next time.
Just to subscribe.
Yeah.
But we'll see you on the next one. And as always, stay a little odd.
I still can't. I have nothing to follow.
You got to come up with something.
We say this every time. I will be shocked in the beginning and speechless at the end. This is going to be our thing.
All right, everybody. See you later.